No, I guess so. We'll see. We'll see, because I don't think it's working. It's working. First Corinthians, chapter 13. First Corinthians 13. If I could speak in any language in heaven or on earth, but didn't love others, I would only be making meaningless noise like a loud gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had any gift of prophecy, and if I knew all the mysteries of the future and knew everything about it, everything, but didn't love others, what good would I be? And if I had the gift of faith so that I could speak to a mountain and make it move without love, I would be no good to anybody. If I had gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would be of no value whatsoever. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. Love does not demand its own way. Love is not irritable, and it keeps no record of when it has been wrong. It is never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. But rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Love will last forever. But prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will all disappear. Now, we know only a little, but even the great gift of prophecy reveals little. But when the end comes, these special gifts will disappear. It is like this. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child does. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. Now we see things imperfectly as a poor mirror. But when we see everything with perfect clarity, and I know now it's partially and incomplete. But when but then I will know everything completely, just as God knows me. There are three things that will endure: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these things is love. Second Kings. Second Kings. Second Kings 7:3-20. Now there were 4 men with leprosy sitting at the entrance of the city gates. Why should we sit here waiting to die? They asked each other. We would starve if we stay here, and we would starve if we go back into the city. So we might as well go out and surrender to the Armenian army. If they let us live, so the better. But if they kill us, we would have to die anyway. So that evening they went out to the camp of the Armenians, but no one was there. For the Lord had caused the whole army of Aram to hear the clatter of speeding chariots and galloping of horses and the sounds of a great army approaching. The king of Israel has hired the Hittites and the Egyptians to attack us, they cried out. So they panicked and fled in the night, abandoning their tents, horses, donkeys, and everything else. They fled for their lives. When the lepers arrived at the edge of the camp, they went in, one tent after another, eating, drinking wine, carrying out silver and gold clothing and hiding it. Finally, they said to each other, "This is not right. This is wonderful news, and we aren't sharing it with anyone. If we wait until morning, some terrible calamity will certainly fall upon us. Come on, let's go back and tell the people at the palace." So they went back to the city and told the gatekeepers what had happened, that they had gone out to the Armenian camp and no one was there. The horses and the donkeys were tethered and the tents were all in order, but there was not a single person around. Then the gatekeepers shouted the news to the people in the palace. The king got out of the bed in the middle of the night and told his officers, "I don't know what has happened. The Armenians know we are starving, so they have left their camp and they have hidden in the fields. They are expecting us to leave the city, and then they will take us alive and capture the city." One of his officers replied, "We had better send out scouts to check into this. Let them take 5 of the remaining horses. If something happens to them, it won't be a greater loss than if they stay here and die with the rest of us." So 2 chariots with horses were prepared. The king sent scouts to see what had happened to the Armenian army. They all went away to the Jordan River, following a trail of clothing and equipment that the Armenians had thrown away in their mad rush to escape. The scouts returned and told the king about it. Then the people of Samaria rushed out and plundered the Armenian camp. So it was true that 5 quarts of fine flour were sold that day for a half an ounce of silver. Then 10 quarts of barley and grain were sold for a half an ounce of silver, just as the Lord had promised. The king appointed his officers to control the traffic at the gate, but he was knocked down and trampled to death, and the people rushed out. So everything happened exactly as the man of God had predicted. When the king came to his house, the man of God had said to the king, "By this time tomorrow, in the markets of Samaria, 5 quarts of fine flour would cost a half an ounce of silver, and 10 quarts of barley would cost a half an ounce of silver." The king's officer had replied, "That couldn't have happened. That couldn't have happened, even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven." And the man of God had said, "You will see it happen, but you won't be able to eat any of it." And so it was, for the people trampled him to death at the gate. That big word is popping back in, baby. I'm telling you. Telling you. Okay, Jonah 2. Jonah 2. Jonah 2. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from inside the fish. He said, "I cried out to the Lord in my great trouble, and he answered me. I called to you from the world of the dead, and Lord, you heard me. You threw me into the ocean's depths, and I sank down to the heart of the sea. I was buried beneath your wild and stormy waves. Then I said, Oh Lord, you have driven me from your presence. How will I ever again see your holy temple?" I sank beneath the waves, and death was very near. The waters closed in around me, and seaweed wrapped itself around my head, and I sank down to the very root of the mountains. I was knocked out of life and imprisoned in the land of the dead. But O Lord, my God, snatched me from the yawning jaws of death. When I had lost all hope, I turned my thoughts once more to the Lord, and my earnest prayer went out to you in your holy temple. Those who worship false gods turn their backs on all God's mercies. But I will offer sacrifice to you with songs of praise, and I fulfill my own vows. For my salvation comes from the Lord alone. Then the Lord ordered the fish to spit up Jonah on the beach, and he did. That's it. That's all. Thank you. That's it. That's all. How we gonna do it? You still there? Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now let's see if this thing is still working. I don't know. Eyeball check. Yeah. So why can't I cut it off? Why can't I cut it off? Mm-mm-mm.